Good evening. I'm Angie Bevan.
And I'm Nancy Cox. Kevin Christopher has the night off. Thanks for joining us at 6. A strong winter storm is pushing toward the bluegrass, bringing with it rain and the possibility of snow.
And let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Bill Meck for more about what we can expect.
Yeah, and you had it all with the Arctic cold as well. I've lived through having a car get frozen shut, and it's not fun trying to get those things back open again. That's going to be a possibility for us Saturday night and Sunday morning because it's going to be mostly rain that falls. We will have a period of snow, but it also is going to get ridiculously cold and doing so quickly. MaxTrack Live Doppler doesn't have anything on it now. We have a snow advisory, winter weather advisory, all of Kentucky, all the way up to the Ohio River. Winter storm warnings above Cincinnati. Don't be surprised if that gets nudged a little southward with time. And the winter storm warnings run all the way from South Dakota to Maine. That is covering a good chunk of real estate. So let's go to the future track from 7 o'clock this evening. We're just stuck in clouds right now. Gee, that's a surprise. Today it's been a solid week since we have seen the sun. By 4 in the morning, we are beginning to see the rain moving in, and really mostly rain. Could be a little mix at the onset right up there along the Ohio River. Also watch up there by Cincinnati because you notice the green never gets up there. So they're looking at a mix or snow for most of this. Meanwhile, for us, it is going to be rain and a lot of it. And that'll continue then through the day. We get you into the hours as we approach the evening. Now here comes the changeover, and that will then take place pretty quickly Saturday evening, and we are expecting accumulating snow out of this. Forecast, a 1 to 3 wind-driven snow for most. Northern Kentucky is 3 to 6. Oh, the cold may end up being the biggest story with all this. And we'll talk about that in just a minute.
All right, Bill, thanks.
With those single-digit temperatures in the forecast, Lexington's homeless shelters want to make sure no one spends the night outside this weekend.
LEX 18's Catherine Collins is live at the Hope Center to tell us what they're doing to make sure everyone has a place to stay. That's tonight's big story at 6.
Yeah, employees here at the Hope Center are expecting close to 100 extra people to stay the night at their shelter this weekend, but that's what they want because the forecasted temperatures could be deadly. The weather this weekend may change some plans.
I'm definitely staying inside.
I will be layered upon layered upon layered.
But these people are thankful to know they'll have a warm bed to sleep in at night.
It's really going to be rough for some if they don't have some type of shelter.
Not everyone does, but for some, it's hard to even imagine what it would be like to spend the night outside in the single digits.
I cannot. I can't. When it's that cold, I hope they find somewhere to go.
I imagine it's unbearable because just walking from class to class, my foot gets numb just for being out there for even 25 minutes, and sleeping out there must be crazy.
Workers at the Hope Center want to make sure no one has to experience that. They'll be out all weekend to offer rides back to the shelter for people living on the streets. They'll also hand out supplies like blankets and gloves.
It's not just a cold night, it's an extremely cold night, and it's dangerous conditions.
The extreme temps mean no one will be turned away.
It doesn't even have to be here, we just want them to come in somewhere.
And the Hope Center's Cold Patrol will go out at about 6 p.m. each night. You can also get a free ride to any shelter on LexTran. Covering the news live in Lexington from the LEX 18 mobile newsroom. Back to you.
Waking up to a frozen car is never a good way to start the day. As temperatures begin to plummet over the weekend, you could potentially run into issues.
Yeah, that's a headache. It's important to be prepared and to keep some basic necessities around to help you get into that car. LEX 18's Alexa Helwig shares a few tips and tricks from AAA. That continues our Storm Tracker team coverage.
Walking outside to a frozen car can be such a hassle. This weekend, you might run into several problems, like even getting your car door open. Try this handy trick with a rag the night before to help prevent the frame from freezing.
You'd want to take the rag and that way and pull at the same time, and that will give you 2 points to secure the door free from the ice without putting too much pressure on the handle and damaging it.
Jed Bowles with AAA in Lexington is prepared to be busy this weekend. He says to keep an ice scraper handy, along with a few other items to safely open your car door without breaking the handle.
Spray some sort of WD-40 or silicone lubricant in the frame to help it open a little bit easier.
Well, if you get out to your car and the door won't unlock, another good thing that you can do is dip the tip of your key into rubbing alcohol. Once you put it into the keyhole, it should loosen up.
Now that you've gotten into the car, start it and immediately turn on the defroster. But if your car won't start, That's a problem. AAA says don't let your car sit for days without starting it.
The battery's going to lose charge, and you're more than likely going to have to jump it, which is where we come in.
And to the list of things not to do, never pour hot water on a windshield and never use windshield wipers to remove ice. Covering the news in Lexington, Alexa Helwig, LEX 18 News.
The long weekend is getting off to a rocky start for millions of Americans with travel plans.
Thousands of flights have already been delayed or canceled as a fast-moving snowstorm bears down on much of the country. LEX 18's Mike Valenti was at Bluegrass Airport where travelers were bracing for a long weekend.
No signs of panic here. Flights out of Lexington remained on schedule and operations appeared to be running smoothly. But some travelers were anticipating winter weather woes for their connecting flights.
Well, I know that there's going to be snow from looking at it, and I have a connection in Chicago, so I prepared. I brought a bag with extra clothes just in case I get stuck, but I think I'm going to be lucky.
Winter weather warnings issued for the Midwest could stifle plans for those just trying to get back home.
I brought food in case I have to wait a while.
I'm thinking I'm going to get stuck there.
Ted Pomerleau is heading back to Canada. He was worried about the forecast ahead of his layover in Chicago, but with a large portion of the country in the storm's path, it's not like he has many other options.
Checked out everything, asked the people here if they could reroute me, but there's nothing here other than Newark, and I'm not going to Newark. And it's even worse. Well, I guess I sleep in a chair or find a hotel room.
It sounds like the Northeast is going to get hit pretty hard, so we certainly would recommend that anyone traveling to those areas keep an eye on your flight.
And the snow couldn't come at a worse time as airports grapple with TSA staffing issues amid a protracted government shutdown.
I'm worried about two things, weather and security.
But at Bluegrass Airport, those two things don't appear to be an issue, at least for now. Covering the news in Lexington, Mike Valenti, LEX 18 News.
Check the latest forecast from home by logging on to our website, lex18.com, and also download our free LEX 18 Storm Tracker weather app to take that information with you on the go. Well, it's not weather, but illness that is forcing Madison County schools to call off classes. There will be no school on Tuesday for those students, so a long weekend break following MLK Day.
Now to new developments in a Whitley County triple murder case. 36-year-old Emma Jean Bittner, her husband Chris, and Emma Jean's 16-year-old son Robert Kennedy III were all strangled in September of 2017 at a home on Deep Branch Road. Today, police announced 3 people have been arrested. 38-year-old Darnell Chivers, 34-year-old Jeremy Hatfield, and 33-year-old Anthony Hester, all from the Indianapolis area. They're all charged with 3 counts of murder, first-degree burglary, and evidence tampering.
Lexington police now say they think the teen badly injured in a shooting last night was shot by someone else.
Officers were called to a shooting near the intersection of Palumbo Drive and Man o' War Boulevard around 8:45 last night. They found a 17-year-old girl with a gunshot wound. She was taken to the hospital with injuries police say are possibly life-threatening. No arrests have been made and no one else was hurt. Jeffrey Wisecup, the Clark County man who did not report his mother's death for 5 days back in October, has pleaded guilty to reckless homicide. Sheila Wisecup died October 21st. Jeffrey says he and his mother had been drinking all day and he passed out when she began injecting insulin. He awoke to find her having a seizure but didn't call for help, and she later died. Wisecup will be sentenced February 14th. A headache for drivers trying to make their morning commute northbound on I-75 just before the 125 exit in Scott County about 4:50 this morning.
The semi-truck swerved and then hit the median and overturned, leaving a mess. Claire Kopsky has that story.
I wish when I saw him driving erratically, I wish I'd gotten off the interstate and come another way. I had a feeling that something bad was going to happen.
Something bad that drivers say started miles down the road.
He appeared to be falling asleep, driving erratically, changing lanes. So I started to pass him, but he was going too fast, so I just stayed back. And then 5 or 10 minutes later, he hit the guardrail. I think he fell asleep again. Hit the guardrail or hit the wall.
A semi-truck driver crossed lanes of traffic, hitting the median head-on just before exit 125 on northbound I-75 before overturning and dumping 45,000 pounds of fence material all over the road.
I was afraid to get out of the car to even check on him because there was debris on both sides of the interstate and cars were driving, trucks, semis were driving over this debris, and I was afraid it was going to come over and impale all of us while we're stuck here.
Stuck for hours as emergency management crews, a towing company's crew, and a forklift driver worked to clean up the mess. All this at the beginning of rush hour.
I'm trying to get to work at Toyota, but unfortunately I haven't made it so far. The line's already going without me.
This is the first accident that we've had overnight or in the last couple of hours, so I don't think Red Rose played a key in it. The driver was either not paying attention or fell asleep.
2 lanes of traffic were back open around 8 this morning, leaving crews to pack up all the scattered gates. Covering the news in Scott County, Claire Kopsky, LEX 18 News.
A dog in Floyd County is improving after suffering a devastating injury and being left for dead.
And now Dixie Rose has something else to be proud of. We'll check in with the Beagle, who has a new lease on life. That's next on LEX 18 News at 6.